Oi, this is the Profanity Gnome, and I'm here to tell you that if you're under 13 years old, fuck off this video! Get the fuck off YouTube! Get your mama to get your dad's cock out of her ears and actually be a parent! This is for adults only! And for everybody else, enjoy the video. So, has anyone seen him move from that spot at all?
He's been there for over a week doing those weird calculations.
What's he even calculating anyway? Whenever I ask, it's something about finding the flaw of She-Ra.
I don't normally like disturbing those when they're busy at work, but we might want to interject.
Yeah, maybe in a bit. But for now, this is Once Upon a Time in the Waste. The episode begins, as you'd expect, in the Waste, where we run into Catra and Scorpina. Catra isn't too thrilled that she's been pretty much sentenced to die in this wasteland, wandering around looking for First One's tech that would be normally impossible to find. But they run into the same tavern that She-Ra and the group ran into. They go inside and are greeted by all the hoodlums, and they're actually surprised that people live out here. Has no one in this show heard of desert people? Well, regardless. They go inside and Catra's still feeling down, but then she overhears two goons who are talking about Adora and her friends. Catra wants information, but they throw on the tough guy act and shut her down. Scorpina tells Catra to use caution and says that they're out here looking for First One's tech. But Catra still wants to know about Adora, because why would they be out there if not looking for that? They still stand their ground and tell her no, and if you want to put up a fight about it, go for it. And Catra just laughs in their faces. She knows she's the alpha bitch here, and she will do anything to get what she wants. And out of fear, they abide by her request. Well, while I am glad that Adora and her friends got development last episode, debatably, I'm glad that the show finally started focusing back on our golden girl, Catra. Yeah, let's be frank here. She's the only reason anyone still watches this show now.
Well, her and Entraptra.
So, Catra takes Scorpina and her two new cronies through the Crimson Waste in order to find the First One's tech.
Did she steal that jacket?
Does it matter?
I guess not.
While the desert is still very dangerous to them, Catra and Scorpina seem to rather like the Crimson Waste. They can do whatever they want, they can boss anyone around, and no one's going to tell them otherwise.
Oh my god, look at that face, that is so adorable!
Shut up, we gotta continue. So, they go through and they get ambushed by a bunch of lizard people, led by the fearful Tongue Lasher.
Oh no, with a name like Tongue Lasher, his power can only mean one thing. He's going to roast us with sick burns!
Does his villainy have no limits? Sadly, he's not the bard, he's a barbarian. The reason they call him Tongue Lasher is because he's got a whip. Yeah, he tries to act threatening, but Catra just laughs in his face in front of all of his men, and she's the one doing the roasting. He tries to still act intimidating, but Catra and Scorpion are just ignoring him. This causes him to go into a rage and fight Catra one-on-one. Catra does her best to fight back, but even though he's the stronger opponent, Catra is the smarter one. She throws dust in his face and lures him into a sand trap. He asks for help, but all she does is steal his whip. So yeah, Catra's a whip person now.
And due to the laws of mob mentality, they all start following Catra's leadership as she becomes the new leader of this lizard gang. And she even starts showing a respect to Scorpina, of all people. Yeah, Catra really seems to be developing into quite the desert flower.
Are you okay, Breaker 7?
I am operating at 100% efficiency.
It's just that you've been down here for quite a while. Don't you think you need some rest?
Negative. This body does not require sleep, or food, or sustenance.
Well, how's your research on finding the flaw of She-Ra going?
It is proving most vexing. For every time I try to look up She-Ra, Catra keeps getting in the way.
Well, what are you going to do? Catra may be the most popular character on the show. Well, call me if you need anything.
Beginning new search. Catra.
Well, we cut to Adora's gang as Huntara takes them to Mira's ship, as we're finally going to get some answers on Adora's past. But it's empty. Yep, anything that wasn't nailed down has been stripped from the ship, perfectly clean. So, with nothing to go on, Adora tries something. She uses the Sword of She-Ra in order to activate the ship, and it turns on, revealing a secret passage.
So they be making their way to the bridge of the ship, and after playing with some wires, accidentally turn on a hologram. Adora immediately tries to befriend this hologram, but it's just a recording being played on loop. Adora begins to lose hope that she'll ever find the secrets of her past, but then she discovers a port where she could put her sword, and thus turns on the real hologram, Mira. We finally get face-to-face reaction.
So, what was the point of having two holograms? I don't get it. Couldn't they just wrap it all up into one? Don't you know? This is She-Ra. We need all of the pointlessness. Well, this hologram is just a recording too, playing the message. She was the one who banished Etheria into an alternate dimension, using the portal created by her sword, the sword being the key. She was supposed to be the last She-Ra, but if the sword reacts to someone else, that means she failed. She gives an ominous warning. Do not reopen the portal under any circumstances. But before we get an explanation why, ambush time by Catra. They prepare to fight, but then she uses her whip because she's a whip girl now, and immediately captures them. So yay, Catra!
Search concluded. Problem with She-Ra, Princesses of Power, identified. Going to next step. Solve the problem.
So Catra and her goons begin celebrating their new victory. Catra is in a very good mood. So much in a good mood that she begins to let down her guard, and begins to actually treat Scorpina not as a lackey, but as a good friend. Scorpina is so happy now. But then Catra drops this bombshell, that she's going to take everything back to the Horde. And Scorpina decides to drop her own 2 cents, since Catra right now is in the highlight of her mood. Why go back to the Horde? Why not stay in the Crimson Waste? She's already the boss. She's already the winner. She has everything they could ever want. She could want. So why go back to the Horde where she was sentenced to die? Catra seems conflicted about this, and decides she's going to check on the prisoner in order to buy some time. And then we cut to Adora, where Catra begins rubbing it in her face that she's won. But then Adora drops the bombshell that Shadow Weaver went to her. She knew about this whole thing thanks to Shadow Weaver. And this is Catra's trigger. She begins to, both figuratively and literally, spiral into darkness. Her mind begins to break. And when she runs into Scorpina again, saying, "Well, what'd you think about the offer? Are you going to stay?" Catra, in a fit of rage and anger and pain, says, "We're taking everything back to the Horde." And that was Once Upon a Time in the Crimson Waste. At least the story's progressing finally.
I think the progression of Catra was handled rather well. This is a person who was at the bottom of the barrel and seems to rose back up to the top. If nothing else, she's become the ultimate crime boss. It also shows subtly that Catra and Scorpina have unintentionally grown close, whether Catra realizes it or not. She truly does value her as a friend, even more than Adora, I believe, at this point.
Now, it's also nice to see that the heroes finally have something to do, something to work towards, or rather, something to prevent. They gotta prevent that portal from opening.
And now that Catra once again has Adora and the sword, the most powerful members of the Alliance, it's only a matter of time before Catra and Hordak unleash the power of the portal. This is actually pretty investing writing.
Even though it's pretty obvious that this season is Season 2, Part 2, I still feel as though it's way more better than Season 2, Part 1. So I'm actually starting to get invested in the show again. So, with that being said, we're the Cartoon Gentlemen, the organizers of chaos as Vintage Kings, and we'll see you all next time.
Target acquired.
Hey Breaker, nice to see you out and about. What are you doing?
After my week of analyzing, reviewing, critiquing, rewatching She-Ra, Princesses of Power, I have discovered the true flaw of She-Ra, the Princesses of Power. Catra, you are the problem with She-Ra.
So we later cut to Adora's group as they approach Mira's fish. Approach Mira's fish. She uses Magikarp.